Hello, and welcome to Hey, I Loved That Movie, the podcast where we rewatch the films we loved when we were younger to see if they still hold up. I'm Dan.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Helena.
And for this episode, we watched The Girl Who Leapt Through Time.
Plinky plonky piano music.
Weird sequel to like the Scandinavian crime drama. All I'm saying.
So Helena finally made us watch an anime.
Yeah.
You make it sound like I'm a massive weeb who loves anime. This
In
is like
this
one of the
group-
very few anime films that I have like affection for.
Compared to me and Michael, yeah.
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 Out of us three, one who is hostile to anime and one who is rather indifferent. You are the
Mike,
most
you're hostile, I assume.
for them. Yeah. For what people have forced me to watch.
Yeah, I will say I did approach this with an open mind. I was like, I'll give this my best shot, and I was interested at first until it got really fucking boring.
This has none of the things that I'm hostile about anime for in it.
That was one of the reasons I thought it would be a good watch, because it's not like weirdly sexual. It's not like over the. It's a bit over the top, but it's not like the plot isn't completely bananas. The there's not hundreds of different characters, and it is film length. It's like normal film length.
But it does devolve into, I need to do this because this boy likes me. Oh no. And that's it for about half an hour.
She needs to do it, otherwise her friends die.
But there's that bit
dies.
was interesting. But there was about half an hour where she was just fucking around with time powers because that guy said he likes her, and she was like, I want to go back in time, so he doesn't. Anyway, should we go through the? Should we go? What? Before we start, what's your history with this then? What? Because this is obviously your movie.
Yeah, I watched this with my ex. I think I think before we were even a couple. So when I must have been 13, 14. And I just instantly had a real soft spot for it. I really liked the character, and like I'd watched a lot of anime at that point, I think, but a lot of it was like, your classic schoolgirl dramas that were all it was all quite sexualized and a bit like made me a bit uncomfortable, or it was just insane and difficult to follow, whereas this I felt really hit the spot of like it was about people at school, but it wasn't. It didn't make me feel kind of grimy watching it.
Yeah,
and
it felt age appropriate. People at school.
Yeah, and like the main character is a girl, but she's not like. It's not about how like beautiful she is or anything like that. She's just really normal, up until she can time travel.
Yeah, she has a power.
But I found it really. It makes me feel like really really nice. Like when I watch this film, I find it really comforting. I hadn't seen it, I think, in probably about 15 years.
Yeah. This
isn't one that I watch like all the time or anything like that. But the last time I think I watched it, I did show to my friend, and she really liked it as well. And that's obviously a really nice experience.
Yeah, it's nice when you show someone a movie and they like it. We're sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm guessing it's not going to be. I was thinking I was going to be preaching to the converted today, but it is getting ever so apparent that that's not the case. But yeah, I liked a lot of like Studio Ghibli films where I think where it's like it's not anime where you're thinking of like your One Piece and your other stuff like that. Like it's really I think it's really well made and really beautiful. Yeah, like the backgrounds in it are absolutely phenomenal. Like you could just look at like so many of the stills in this could be a painting or like a.
Yeah, the backgrounds are nice. They really distract you from half the people having no faces.
There's a lot of the animation.
That's a time-saving thing. That's like an artist's time-saving thing.
I like it when people are cross or sad or walking away. They just don't have eyes anymore. Comes up in this quite a lot. But I just always thought it was one of the first anime movies I saw where I was like, oh, okay, it's not all about like sexy school uniforms and aliens.
It's about time travel.
It also felt quite realistic for like what would happen if a girl a young teenage girl got time travel powers, she would
Yeah.
like, and the whole point is like he's really glad that she ends up with these powers because in the hands of someone a little bit more dangerous, it could have been a disaster. It could have been really hostile. It could have, people could have got really hurt, really badly hurt. But instead, like, she uses it to at one point sing karaoke for 10 hours straight.
Yep. Which, to be fair, when we find out what he wanted to use his powers for, they're not much better. It's not a grand reason.
Yeah. When that twist came up, I was just like, it had lost me at that point anyway. I was like, fucking seriously.
Yeah.
So did you guys watch this with subtitles or dubbed? Just out of curiosity?
Subtitles. Yeah.
Oh, subtitles. I can't watch dub stuff.
I was going to say, because I think I tried to watch it with dubs once, and it was like, oh no, the voices were very annoying.
So I did have a problem with the way that I watched it and the subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is probably why a part of the reason why I couldn't focus on it. I watched it where the subtitles were just in white. So half the time they were like, well, they wear a lot of white clothing. I'd learnt very quickly.
Oh, so it was just not coming up, and yeah,
couldn't read it.
Okay, so you missed what, potentially 50% of the dialogue? Would you say?
A bit less than that. Like enough to like follow it. But, yeah.
I would argue that this film is considerably better when you can understand what they're saying.
I watched it on. It was on like a free trial through Amazon Prime. Because I'm not paying for that fucking anime thing. But the subtitles
you've not subscribed me to Crunchyroll.
Turns out I'm not the most
subtitles
hostile to anime.
Were like ever so slightly faster than what was happening in the scene.
That's fine though.
So yeah, but it got a bit confusing sometimes with the characters talking to each other and trying to work out who was saying what because the subtitles were going way faster than the conversation.
Oh, that's a bit weird. Because normally when I found and like even on TV, if it's two people talking, they automatically put them in two different colours.
Yeah, that would
like
have
someone
made
will be
more
like
sense.
blue and
yeah.
someone will be like yellow.
Sometimes if you couldn't obviously see who was talking, it'd say their name before as well. But then when it was like sort of cutting shots between two characters talking and it wasn't doing that, it was just
yeah, that's a bit confusing.
A little bit.
I watched this on a totally legitimate streaming service. And the subtitles were really well done, I thought. And they also had quite a lot of context. They added quite a lot of context to some of the sayings as well, which I thought was helpful.
That'd be nice.
But yeah, I think this is a really charming film. I really like the main character, who's called Makoto. Makoto?
Yeah.
How badly we're going to butcher the...
There's Makoto, Chiaki
and Kasuki.
Yeah, and then Yuri is there as well.
Yeah, Yuri's her friend that's a girl that doesn't really do a lot.
Someone else, and Tatsuki, who gets bullied?
Yeah, I think so.
Did make some notes, but you know.
I mean, names are never my strong point, and when they're in Japanese,
yeah.
But I really like this film. I don't know what else to say about it, but the plot is about this. It's this trio at school. It's their final year. They are quite fast friends. Like, two of them have known each other for a long time. And the one guy has been there for about a term, and they just hang out a lot and play baseball together.
Yeah.
And then one day, Makoto finds basically a walnut. It looks like a walnut.
Yeah, it looks like a walnut.
Yeah,
in a science
time
lab.
traveling walnut.
Yeah.
And then she manages to. She's going downhill, cycling home, and her brakes on her bike don't work.
Well, she lands on the walnut. She breaks the walnut.
Yeah, she breaks the walnut into her, and basically, what turns out is that's given her the power to time leap.
Yeah, because she's about to get absolutely twatted by a train, and instead is like back in time.
I like that this when it's like girl who leapt through time, it is quite literal in that respect. There's a lot of actual leaping.
Yes,
yeah.
She has to jump, and then at one point roll quite.
Yeah, it's the same as I guess it's the same kind of premise almost as Men in Black 3.
Yeah, having to jump.
Yeah, you have to time jump or time. This is time leap. I don't know. I really enjoyed the way that they did the time travel in this, where she's like falling through water or falling through like these weird clock systems.
Yeah, the weird like digital clock universe that she falls into every now and then.
Yeah, because the film. I think the thing that I like most about this film is just how pretty it is.
Oh, it's a beautiful film, but like anime normally is.
Yeah, well,
beautiful.
Yeah, when it's a film that's like actually had lots of effort put into it and isn't like a weird cash grab or like, the 12 millionth episode.
Wow, call out One Piece harder. I know enough about anime to talk about it, but I've never seen an episode of an anime.
I know there's a really long one called Bleach.
Blech.
Yeah. I know that Edge of Tomorrow was based on a manga, and Edge of Tomorrow was sick. But I have, of course, not read the manga.
Yeah, I mean, I dabbled in manga, but manga is crazy expensive.
Yeah.
For like a young person to be into.
Hang on, I really want to piss off some of the audience. I really liked Avatar: The Last Airbender.
The film?
No, the TV show. But it's not technically anime because it's an American thing. So.
I mean, it's in the style of anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not technically.
Oh, I quite liked the live-action Cowboy Bebop.
Fair.
Haven't seen.
We're gonna anger all 2 anime fans that we have.
One of them's Helen.
But we're not anime people. We didn't grow up with anime. We didn't grow up with manga. It's not us. It's not our scene.
But yeah, so she crashes her bike and essentially she's about to die or dies. She thinks she's dying.
She dies.
And
she dies at that point.
The
rest of it's in her head.
Yeah.
And she goes back in time. And then she goes to tell her auntie, who is immediately like, I think you time leaped. And she's like, huh, that's a thing? And she's like, yeah, you could probably do it again, if you like practice.
Yeah, if you fucking tried harder.
Yeah, because she thinks her auntie's a witch or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hinted that her auntie has either time leaped or had a relationship with someone who could time leap.
Yeah. We skipped over the one woman in this film that I relate to. And the woman, when she time leaps back from getting hit by the train, she hits
the angry lady
woman.
With the shopping.
Fucking, I understand that woman on a spiritual level.
She lays into this poor girl who's just come off her bicycle. Like, what the fuck are you doing? With those things on the front of your face are for looking, idiot.
Loved her. Because she's in it later as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a time leaping film. We see this series of events quite a few times in different ways.
Yeah.
And it had a cool clock mechanic thing where some elves came out.
Yeah, because it's like a 5 o'clock, or 4 o'clock or something, isn't it? And the little
the kids calls them elves. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that's a thing that happens everywhere in Japan, or like specifically that road or something.
Just that one clock.
This is the only thing I've seen where they made a digital clock look cool. Like the actual, like when it shows a digital clock, because for some reason it's based on that image because like it's her alarm clock or something. It looks cool. Normally they look a bit shit. They get a bit 24-y. But no, the digital clock in like the cutouts is really cool.
Yeah, so it's quite a cool, I guess it's quite a cool font. It's, I mean, for lack of a better word, quite like kanji-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the way it like grinds to a halt and then spins back. It's a mixture of, it feels quite obviously mechanical, electronic, but it also has that sort of almost mechanical feel. Like it reminds me a bit of like when train shutters, like train stations, the old information spinboard things.
Yeah.
Which
I saw a really stupid like startup thing for them where it was essentially those like flipper boards, but you could like text it a message. Dumb. Incredibly stupid. Because it meant you had to be.
I just like the sound they make.
Yeah, but to text it a message meant that the person you want to receive it has to be stood in front of the board at that exact moment. How do you tell them when to stand in front of the board? I guess you have to text them.
Send them a text that says, "Oi, look over here."
It was stupid, and I couldn't. It was just dumb. It was great.
Yeah.
Stupid.
But yeah, so like, I do like how she kind of she gets to grips with her time leaping powers, and yeah, she's using it for like basic stuff. Like she really wants teppanyaki for dinner, and they're like, we had that 2 nights ago, so she jumps back to 2 nights ago so she can have it.
Yeah.
Well, she
or
rolls.
gets
she
her
combat
pudding
rolls.
that her sister stole.
She combat rolls into these scenarios.
Yeah.
She realizes
Yeah.
she doesn't have to.
Yeah,
leap.
it's a very much a dive roll leap.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's using it for all fun things that we would use time travel things for, like just small pointless
So yeah,
shenanigans.
little things like getting to school on time, and also then like passing a test. But also one that's quite important is she, on that day where she ends up getting hit, the first day that she time leaps, that day's really bad for her because it starts off like she's running late, and then there's a surprise test that she flunks, and then there's a mishap in the kitchen. They're like cooking, like it looked like sort of deep fried vegetables and prawns and stuff.
Yeah, they set fire
And
to it back.
she basically accidentally sets fire to it, and it's a whole sort of series of events. But by swapping partners, it still happens, but it happens to someone else.
That poor guy.
And that sparks this like whole chain of events for this guy.
He's having the worst time.
He's having this worst time. It's like this bully off essentially, because he's giving back as good as he gets, but there's 3 guys doing it to him versus.
Yeah.
So like, because he covers them in, he has to extinguish the fire because it's a little oil pan fire. It's quite a serious deal, really. But he squirts everyone with this fire extinguisher, especially like these 3 boys, while he's trying to get to grips with it. You know, the teacher doesn't come and take the fire extinguisher off him and do it.
No, she stands there and watches.
She stands
him.
there and watches him flail around.
She was like, part of learning to cook is to learn how to put out the fires.
But anyway, so they essentially punish him later on, or like a few days later. And she realizes, like, she has a chat with her aunt, and her aunt's like, well, okay, it's great that these bad things aren't happening to you anymore. She's bragging, and she's like, yeah, I can get my allowance back if I time travel back in time.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I'm just having the best time. This is amazing. And she's like, well, I hope that no one's losing out because of everything you're gaining.
Yeah.
She's
it's
like,
amazing.
oh shit, that hadn't occurred to me.
That kind of like, just because you're going well, it might mean that your actions to make yourself better might be ruining someone else's day. And she was like, damn, hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
Shit.
So it's like, oh, there might be some consequences to her actions.
Yeah, and they're all on this one guy.
Yeah.
This one poor guy is having the worst day of his life.
So she kind of stops
She
stops sleeping for like frivolous things and tries to focus on stopping
Good
bad
things.
things from happening.
Yeah.
Or kind of manipulating situations so that good things happen for other people.
Yeah.
It's sort of that use your powers for good kind of arc.
Yeah. Is that when she finds the tattoo?
No, she finds that a bit later, surprisingly.
Yeah, so she first finds it and it says 90.
Yeah, she's not the brightest.
Yeah.
She's-
It looks like it says 90.
But there's a line underneath. There's a line.
Yeah.
And the line normally means this way round, specifically for this reason.
Yeah.
That you don't confuse a 9 and a 6.
Yeah. But then this is where the film got really fucking boring for me. Because it just became a whole extended thing of... So, Chiaki... some girl asks out... Kasuke, yeah. And then Chiaki's like, oh, well, if he's asked, he asks out Makoto, and then it just becomes her time travelling to stop that and trying to do different things, and then she gets pissed off that Chiaki then likes someone else because she doesn't like him, so she was time... And it just became so, like... I can see why a teenage girl would enjoy it, but not enjoyable.
Ooh, called me out. Yeah,
It became high school drama for a little bit.
Yeah. It becomes so, like, frivolous.
She's scared of... She's lost one friend, essentially, to a relationship. She's scared of losing her only other friend. It's like, if Mikey left the podcast, Dan, and then it was just you and me, and I started chatting up another podcast... you go back in time and check it.
Can we pause? How does one chat up a podcast?
Just
please
spam
give an
their
example of how
DMs.
you
Like, hey,
chat up a podcast?
you guessed? Maybe a more than one time thing? Maybe looking for a new co-host?
Need a new presenter?
Just want you to know that I'm available and I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm sure I would use my time travel powers to go back and make sure our podcast is a success.
I mean, could you do that anyway? Do I
Yeah.
have to leave the podcast to get you to do that? Because I will.
I mean, sorry, I don't have time travel powers. I've just got jumper powers. I can just go to different places. But it
Super
doesn't.
useful for this audio medium that we use.
But you could do that to a whole car at some point, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A whole building. I can take the podcast studio with you. We need to
Right, guys, I
record
got
as a
some new
guest. Let's
equipment.
go. That'd be sick. Like.
We're recording this episode from Egypt. And it's just a recording studio smashed into the side of a pyramid.
His dad starts every podcast exhausted. Just like, why don't you do that, Dan?
Oh,
You-
you know, it's not very good content.
Oh, great content. Much better than what we're making now.
She sees that she has this
Heather tries
limited.
so hard to keep us back on the film. So please
I've
don't
not.
deviate.
No one else will talk to me about this film, so you know.
That's true. You've captured us. It's
Jim
what you've
refused
done.
to watch it. Jim's very anti-anime and like completely 100% like, ugh, anime. I'm not going to watch that.
That
Well, I
is
guess
so-
I found who we're
genuinely-
getting when you start chatting up another podcast. Then we'll just get Jim.
Genuinely, that's quite surprising. Everything I know about him, and every time I've met him being hostile to anime is surprising.
Really? He'll be very offended that you said that.
I can imagine he will. I would also be offended if someone assumed I liked anime.
This is a guy. I mean, I mean, I love him. I love him to pieces. Don't always understand him because we're still having this argument where he's like, Baldur's Gate is a weird game for nerds,
It's a great game for me.
while he's playing Witcher 3.
It's really
Yeah.
not that. It's not that
No,
different.
it's
Jim, play Baldur's Gate. You'll like it.
And he's like getting all excited in the romance sections, and I'm like, you have no idea.
you can't even pick. There's so
And he's like,
much
oh my god, that
romance
menu
and-
looks so confusing. How are you navigating that? And then he's like scrolling
Oh.
through pages on the Witcher.
Sorry, I've never played a game which, like, on mouse and keyboard that used the entire keyboard. Witcher uses the entire goddamn keyboard.
Yeah.
Like, press 7 to do. Fucking press Y to open up your magic abilities.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever used Y in a video game before.
I have, but it's because I play on the Xbox. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, that would make more sense.
yeah.
Yeah, I love him to pieces, but he makes no sense. Which is why I felt safe that maybe you guys would still like this film. Because
No. You should never.
I mean,
We have
she does use
never-
her time travel stuff to stop Tasuke throwing a fire extinguisher at someone, and instead it hits some girl in the face.
it hits Yuri.
Yeah,
in
it
the
hits
face.
Yuri. Oh, I think it's like in the back. She ends up with like a shoulder.
A gash,
bandage
yeah, a
thing
gash
that
on her
one, yeah.
shoulder.
Yeah.
And that's when, and like obviously Chiaki, that bit is
That's when
Well,
he
he-
decides
Oh, that-
he likes
that-
Yuri now, and so now
Yeah,
Makoto
it
is mad because he
hurts.
likes Yuri.
That,
she's not mad that he likes Yuri. She's mad at herself because she
It's her
she
fault.
rejected him by omission essentially.
yeah.
Because she like and her aunt points this out, is like, oh, he must have, like, it took so much courage for him to tell you how he felt, and you took that away from him. You never let him have that.
Yeah.
But now, like,
Yeah.
you've got the upper hand, and that's like your relationship's going to be affected by that.
Yeah, and then it turns out that the other girl only likes Kasuke because he looked after her grandma or something.
Yeah, that bit, yeah,
It's a bit
whatever.
weird.
But I did like the way that when she's trying to matchmake them because she wants Kasuke to be happy and to she wants to undo all the interfering that she'd done, logically by interfering further. And she accidentally spills the beans about knowing about the grandma, and the girl, like, had not told her that because she'd been back in time since she learned about it, and she's like, "How the fuck do you know my grandma?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, we went bowling together. Just my grandma's confined to her bed." And then they look at her like she's a witch and like run away screaming.
It did sort of gain a bit of interest again at this point when it's like, oh, she set up Kazuke. I don't know the other girl's name. I'd written Yuri. It's not Yuri. It's But yeah, essentially Kazuke then takes Makoto's bike and they're cycling home, and Makoto's like, "Oh fuck! Like, I've accidentally led this to the chain of events. They're gonna get killed by that train."
Yeah, because to undo everything, she's gone back to that day.
Yeah. But she's gone back a bit too far. So when she gets there and the train goes past, she's like, "Oh, there's not been an accident. It's fine."
Yeah.
Didn't think to check the clock to see if it was 4:00, the one very specific time that this happened at. The one thing that was very obviously specific to the exact thing happening.
Time is not important in this film.
No.
Time is not that important.
No.
This is when she realizes, like, she notices that she only has one jump left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She only has
and
one.
And then she's like, well, they've not been hit by the train, so it's fine. So she uses her jump on something really trivial, and then...
Yeah, I think because she's kind of got into the habit of it.
Mm.
And she didn't realise, because she thought she had 90, when in fact she had...
9.
Was it 6?
6.
Because it's flipped round.
Yeah.
So she had been in the habit. She thought she'd wound all the way down from she'd been frittering them away essentially, and then she does it almost by accident. Well, pretty much by accident. When Chiaki asks her if she's been time leaping.
I get like that moment,
and then she's like, "Oh my god,
great.
that was so stupid. Why did I waste it on that?" And then she sees them. Then Kotsuke and her and Yuri cycle past her.
Yeah,
on her bike that hasn't got any brakes down, and it's a super steep hill. I think we hadn't mentioned this, but like there's a reason like the no brakes thing is that important. Is like they won't be able to stop in time.
Super steep hill with a train crossing at the bottom.
It's a really safe design.
Yeah, like when she crashes the first time and her shoe flies off, I did like how his shoe flies off and just hits her in the face, and then she just takes a massive fall. But yeah, then I was like, oh, there have been consequences to her actions. This is mildly interesting again.
Yeah, so it cuts to black then. And, because she runs down the hill and like she falls down and is like pretty much just covered in bruises as she's rolled down the hill, pissing off that lady again, of course.
Yeah,
and is like saying stop, like over and.
In this entire film.
Yeah, the mildly inconvenienced woman.
Yeah, the only character who is in the correct position the entire film.
Suddenly
that bit is really heartbreak. Like that bit I remember really got me as a kid because as far as you know,
that's it.
She can't go back in time to stop this anymore. She's run out of time travel.
That would have been a lot more interesting than what then happens, which is a really dumb twist.
Well, the twist isn't dumb because you find out what's the guy called?
Chiaki.
Yeah.
He is also time jumping.
He's from the future and he came back to look at a painting.
That was
wow.
Dumb. But him being from the future and he can also time leap, you're like, yeah, cool. This is a thing multiple people can do. Or like it's because of his magic nut.
And it's like, I mean, it basically explains whose magic nut it is.
He's got the magic time travel nut.
It's his magic. It's his magic walnut. And he's in the future time travel is made possible, and I think it's one of those ones where it's like the way that it comes across as in dialogue is it falls a bit flat, where it's like I came back to look at this painting.
Yeah,
but
for some reason,
like he really wanted to see this painting, and
the painting's been destroyed in the future, so he wants to see it.
He wants to see the original, and
he lost his magic nut, and now someone else has gotten it and caused absolute fucking chaos.
She broke his magic nut.
Yeah.
She stood on his magic nut and broke it.
She accidentally fell on his magic nut.
So, she falls on it. So he is...
This is just like,
he's basically like, I'm stuck here. I don't have the charges to get back.
I'm not accepting.
But at the same time, he's enjoying himself. He said, like, it's the best summer he's ever had. Like, being back here, being in this world.
Yeah.
Like, he's made it work. I don't know why the fuck he went to school. Like, if I was 17 and I found myself in another land, I would not be like, hey, I'm 17 and need to be in education.
Oh, that's why he wanted to go back in time to see a painting, because he was a pretentious prick of a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those ones where it's like, if you've got 90 charges and you fancy seeing a painting, and you're like, oh, I really wish I could see this.
I feel
Everyone's
like
talking about how that there's this report about how beautiful it is, but it was lost, and you're like, might as well. Let's see if I can track it down.
But like,
Oh.
is time travel rare and a difficult thing then, or is it something everyone can do?
Well, it's but
Depends
I
if
think the
you've
point
got
is
the
that
magic
it's
nut.
not. Yeah, it is possible,
How
and
many
it's
magic nuts do
quite
you
readily available. But there are strict rules. Like he's not allowed to tell anyone. You're not allowed to tell people from the past that time travel exists.
But you're allowed to go back and look at a painting as a
Yeah.
17-year-old. You have the.
I mean, this
the-
world sounds pretty fucked up. He's talking about how there's actual people around.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, and this we know that this painting is about like a horrible famine and war. Like, it's serenely beautiful, but it's not it doesn't make the future sound particularly great, and he doesn't make the future sound particularly great.
No.
So yeah, maybe everyone can time travel, but if the population's been, reduced by 90%, then yeah.
True.
We don't know. It doesn't go into that. It's one of those ones where I think like the book probably expands on that, but I haven't read the book.
To be fair, the future was very like washed out and white, and I missed a lot of the subtitles, if I'm honest.
The future's a
They
weird
really
book.
like-
You're only you only really understand the dark scenes in this.
Yeah, they went overexposed with some of it, and I lost track, if I'm honest.
But anyway, so he pauses time.
Yeah, which is something he can do.
Yeah, but it's one of those, maybe he's got a different nut for pausing time.
That's
Do
the
we
left
have
nut.
this other magic nut? The aunt who is like, you can leap through time.
Yeah.
Some people can just do that. Was she just like, fuck it, I'll push this kid's like when she's telling me?
I'll lean into this psychotic event.
Yeah. I'll lean
See
into
what
it.
happens. I'll
She's
encourage
like,
this young girl.
Like, just bored. I think her aunt was just bored that day. And the girl came to her and was like, I think I jumped through time. She went, yeah, you did. And you can do it again if you focused.
Well,
And
it
we
might
never-
be that. Well,
You never
the aunt's
really get...
complicated though, because it's like, well, has she time traveled, and is she from the future, or is she?
But the way she
Has she been to the
it-
future and come back and is forbidden to tell her? Because it's one of those things where it's like when you're not allowed to tell someone something, and there are
Yeah.
consequences for telling them. Like that's why he's saying like, I need to go back like right now.
True.
Because there are going to be consequences for me having told you. Maybe
Yes,
she's like sort of tied up in the same like essentially bureaucracy of time travel.
I like to think she's just bored. She's just like,
yeah, I mean-
it's a superpower.
Yeah, you can definitely time jump. Yeah, just jump out the window. You'll be fine.
It is quite funny when she goes to Makoto goes to jump out of her bedroom window to like time
Yeah.
leap, and her sister
Her
catches
sister's
her and
like,
is like,
"No."
"No!"
Yeah, she's
don't
like,
do
"Do you want to
Yeah.
kill yourself because I ate your pudding yesterday?"
And then she's like, "No, that's not. I'm not trying to kill." And he's like, "Anyway, I'm going to the shops," and she's like, "No."
The aunt was loving watching that. She's just there for the drama.
So basically, Chiaki stops time, and
Explains all this.
explains
does exposition.
what's happening, saying that he had to use his last jump was supposed to be to go back in time to go home.
But now
But-
he's used it because he had to, because she fucked up.
Yeah, because she fucked up and these two people died, and he basically what we don't see is the aftermath of them dying, because he time leaps so that it doesn't happen, and like they're paused in that moment. But he's like saying you begged, you're begging me to do something. I had to do something. I had to do it. But he's like, now I've got to go and face the consequences.
Yeah, but she realizes that because he leaped back, her one leap has now returned. So
Yeah,
she's
because
like,
she
"Oh, if
didn't
I
do
go
that
back
final
far, yeah."
leap. Yeah,
She's like, "If I go back far enough, then he'll have his one leap back."
yeah.
And
Well,
So
she goes and collects his nut, doesn't
Yeah.
she?
yeah,
She goes back to before she ever had. Yeah, but that morning.
Only just pulled
Sleeps
Daisy
through the test, like fucks everything up the way it was sort of supposed to be fucked up.
Yeah.
Screams at Kasuke like, if you want to use my bike, it's going to cost you 5,000 yen, and then gives him goes to Chiaki and gives him the nut,
Yeah.
and he's like, what? and then she's like, well, you told me, and he's like, oh fuck, really?
Oh, I
Because
wouldn't tell you
that's an issue. We've got problems.
But by the way,
I've
his
gotta go.
immediate reaction wasn't like, I don't know what you're talking about. It was, I wouldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Maybe your instinct should be different, my friend. Maybe your reaction shouldn't be blast. Feign ignorance for a little bit longer.
I mean, yeah, surely though, it's pretty obvious the cat is out of the bag at this point.
Oh, but you just...
If someone is giving you your walnut and saying, here, have your time travel walnut back, you can't be like, what?
Huh?
What's a time travel walnut, you crazy girl?
Yeah. And then he's like, well, I enjoyed being here. I'm going to go now. And then she's sad. And then he comes back. And then he goes. And then she plays baseball. And then I was like...
Well, he can do it 90 times, can't he?
Yeah.
So, hey. Ooh.
Yeah, so he's got to go back and face the consequences of telling her. But he's like, I'll be there. And he leaves. And she is like obviously beside herself. Because she does really like him. By this point, she's very affectionate towards him. But nothing happened. And it's one of those ones where I quite like it that there isn't like a big, beautiful kiss at the end. Like, they just hug. And he's like, I'll be in the future. And she's like, I can't wait. Yeah.
She does now have to deal with the knowledge that she knows that the future's actually pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has to kind of deal with the knowledge that actually...
Oh yeah, like... I don't know what she's going to do. But when at the end she's talking to... instead of like trying to force the matchmaking sort of thing on Kosuke, she instead just asks now that Chiaki's gone and it's just the two of them left, she asks the girls if they want to play baseball with them instead, and they agree.
Yeah. And
then it's like, like a natural friendship is forming rather than it being like something that she's like trying to engineer. So it's I think it's quite a sweet ending. And she says goodbye to Chiaki and then has to go on and do it. And then when Kosuke asks like, so what are you going to do next year? And she's just like, what's the secret? And it's like, yeah. I think it's a really sweet film.
Yeah.
I think like it's one of those ones where like the stakes are high enough that I actually find it quite gripping. And a boy liking you is a big deal, Dan.
Yeah, Dan.
I'm sure it would be. It just really lost me at that, because up until then I was like, I was quite enjoying her sort of time travel shenanigans and that, and I was like, oh, I wonder if there's going to be like, some important shit that she's got to use it for. And then it really lost me in the whole like messing around with different people liking each other kind of thing. And I was like, this has just become exactly what I didn't want it to be, and it was really boring. And then it sort of clawed back a bit when they got twatted by that train again. And then when Chiaki was like, I'm from the future too, I was like, nah, no.
And I'm back out.
I'm out. I'm sorry. And then I was like, I will wait for the end. And then there was at one point, a really long extended scene where Makoto is running, and I was like, if someone didn't know I was watching an anime where someone's running, they'd think I was just watching some fucking hentai right now.
There's a couple of scenes where the sort of Foley sounds, I don't know if that's what it's still called in anime, but like the voice acting of her breathing or eating is just a bit much.
Yep.
I was wondering, Mikey, what you thought of the watermelon scene?
I can't remember it.
There's just a scene where her parents and her sister are eating watermelon. She's really sad at this point. And like her parents and her sister are eating watermelon, and they're just like.
Yeah, I tuned out a lot of this film.
Were they making the Minecraft eating noise?
Pretty much, but wetter. Because it's watermelon.
Yeah.
It was just very squelchy.
To be fair, there is no easy way to eat watermelon.
Just bite it like an apple.
It's like mango. Mango is always a difficult thing to eat.
I mean, cut it into small pieces and don't eat it like a savage.
Do you mean? But that's 90% of the reason you eat it.
Yeah, you want the chaos.
You want the chaos.
The chaos of eating fruit a bit wrong, like when I cut the top of a pineapple and ate the whole thing with a spoon.
Yeah. How ill were you after that?
Oh, I wasn't ill. I just couldn't taste for about 3 days.
Yeah. I wasn't ill. I just couldn't taste anything. No.
I ate an entire bag of this is less impressive than a whole pineapple. It was a bag of they're like lentil tube crisps from like Sainsbury's.
They're delicious.
They're great, but they shred your mouth to pieces. I was
chip.
Suffering for like the next 2 days. Like, I did this to myself, and I'd do it again. That's not the first time I've done it.
It's like kettle crisps.
Yeah,
they're shrapnel.
or like a whole tube of Pringles where they just start to slit the sides of your mouth.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, you bite a
That's
Dorito
so-
wrong.
Yeah, so good.
You react like a cat licking something sour. You're like, yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm glad you guys watched it. I don't think you got it, but I'm glad
do
you
you
weren't like
mean?
animated shit. Like you didn't hate it because it was animated. You seem to hate
No.
it because it lost you a bit and was a bit boring. / you missed quite a bit of the dialogue.
Yeah, like
Okay,
I like
okay.
animated things. Just anime in particular, I'm not really a fan of.
It can just be super hit and miss, can't it? And
Yeah.
I like a lot of animated like anime films, so like and especially like the Studio Ghibli stuff, like
Yeah.
which we've not done a
There's,
single
like-
one of.
There's
but-
like anime that's like a TV show anime, for the most part. For what I've seen of it, there's like, and then there's like the art form of anime.
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's
No, it's
it's
like-
more akin to hand drawn animation in the that
Yeah.
that was produced in the Western world,
In the
where
West.
it's beautiful backgrounds and then sometimes not particularly great animation on like frames drawn on top.
Yeah,
It's just the style, and I like the style of this one. I think as well is
it's beautiful.
it is
it is a
beautiful. The
beautiful
animation's
film.
very simple on top of it.
Yeah,
But I'd much rather have a beautiful background and okay animation than like everything be sort of in the middle.
yeah, it's a beautiful.
And like
film.
especially there's loads of like sunrises and sunsets, and the lighting in this film's really good. And I really like just the they do like these really good cityscapes of Japan quite often. And obviously there's the sort of reoccurring shot of like the steep hill down to the train
Yeah,
is really, yeah, both the shot like looking down and the shot looking up are both great. And yeah, I think it's not too, it doesn't get too big for its boots. I think that can be a problem with some animes. And actually, to be honest, anything like where it's like, oh, okay, it's time travel, but we've got to tackle the entire universe, or she's got to save the world, or she's
Yeah.
got to, and it boils down to like, no, she's got to save her two friends, and let her best friend, the person that she's in love with, go back to the future. And
It's
it sort
very
of ties
grounded.
it ties itself. It goes full circle, and
it's very grounded, and I think that's why him being like, I time traveled from like the hint at the kind of dystopian future, and he time traveled back in time to see a beautiful painting. I think that's why that feels out of place, because the rest of it's so grounded in like normal high school stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if
with
it was
time
like,
travel.
no, she's run out of her time travel and she has to deal with the consequences of this now, would
Like-
have been a lot more, like, a lot fucking darker.
I don't know
and
that. Yeah,
sadder.
that'd be. I wouldn't want that movie because I don't want that to
But-
happen to you. Like, I don't want her to
But-
have to face the death of her two friends.
No, but it would have been I think it would have been a bit more interesting than, don't worry, this other guy can time travel too. It's cool.
But it's
I
not
think-
that. Like they hint at it loads that
Yeah,
he knows
he
what's
does have
going
to-
on. Like it's not subtle, and like the fact that her aunt knows about it is. This isn't like she's not.
She's
It's
just
very
fucking-
much not implied she's the only person that can do this. And
Aunt's
there's
just
3
fucking-
main characters, so it was 50-50 going to be one of the other two.
It just like, it was the reason, like him traveling back in time is fine, it's great.
The
The
reason I
reason
feel
just felt
isn't fleshed out, and maybe
out
it is
of
more in the
place.
book, and like they just, but
Yeah.
yeah, because it doesn't go deep into what this
Weird dystopian
what the
future.
dystopian future is like. I think his reason doesn't feel particularly justified. But I imagine like if you're in a world where there is very little art, everything's been exploded, but the one thing you've
Yeah.
sort of got reference to, you haven't seen it, but you know it exists, is this one painting.
Yeah, and
I think it's also
same as-
implied that this painting is from the future
Yeah,
and
But
has
it-
gone back in time, which is also very
Yeah.
interesting.
time travel. You start talking about time travel, you kind of have to ignore all of like the little details
Yeah.
because they don't add up. But yeah, it just felt. I think it felt too like fanciful and sci-fi for like a relatively grounded film.
Well, yeah, but it's fanciful and it is a relatively grounded film about time travel.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but it's not like
Yeah. The
It-
personal stakes
does
make
the-
it nicer than...
it does.
Yeah.
It hints at like big world savey event, and
Yeah.
the film doesn't need that. It's like that's why it's good is because it's about people being people.
Yeah.
not the big world-saving event, and then it hints that like, oh, there's a big world-saving event. No.
Well, it doesn't hint
Like, I
that she
could
can save the
see
world.
A spin-off like TV show where she goes and saves the future.
I think that could. Yeah, that would be like the Netflix spin-off that would like is it like immediately too big for its boots?
Yeah. Where it's like, oh, she goes off and goes to find the boy she's in love with in the future, and to do that she has to save like whatever dystopian thing happens.
But if she saves the future, he won't exist because
He won't exist. Oh, the twist.
And she sums it all up in a
difficulty.
painting that she sends to the past to her auntie. Yeah, I don't know. Like it could have. I think a film having the potential for a shit sequel doesn't make it a bad film.
No, I don't think this is a bad film. I just
good.
don't enjoy it.
Oh.
I think this is a very good film.
Oh, you
I just don't
tease!
enjoy
You
it.
got me. I was like, oh, really? Let's jump on that.
Yeah, and it's a good film. I just didn't enjoy it.
Oh.
Yeah, I can appreciate some of it, but on a personal enjoyment level, it was very low.
Okay, well
Yeah.
then, out of 10.
Do you want me to start with my very low score?
We should go. Yeah, we should go.
We can build
I'll
up. you
end.
know.
Us two and then Helena.
We can
'cause I
build
feel
up
like
to a
Helena's
nice
gonna be
ending. Yeah.
considerably higher than us.
If it's
Yeah.
under 5, I'll cry.
We'll get
How far
fucking
under
ready.
5?
We'll get those tissues ready.
Will you accept a 2?
Ouch.
One
star. Yeah, that's
really just lost it with this.
What did
Like,
get
It's
the
really
other
not for
star
you, is it?
yeah, no. Like, I'd say I was enjoying it up to a point, and then when it lost me, it really lost me. I think, yeah, not really being an anime fan in the first place, probably that did kind of mean I lost interest even sooner, but yeah, it really hit a point where I was like, oh, this is where this has gone now. Now it's just not interesting at all. And then, like, yeah, when it gets to the point where it's like, oh no, there are personal stakes to this, and like, you know, they're gonna die because they're gonna get hit by this train. I'm like, cool. But it seemed to spend so long on that bit in between where she's just faffing about trying to deal with one boy liking her and her friend liking someone else. Like, yeah,
Okay.
I can sort of appreciate it as a film, but
It's alright. I mean, our friendship
Yeah.
is over, and I'm never speaking
Yeah.
to you again. But I
Wait,
I
this is all
understand
we
your
needed to
position.
do? One.
It's a
one-
choice. It's
no,
a
I'm
choice
joking.
you've made.
yeah, I don't see myself watching this again. If I did, I'd be very surprised.
I think I'm gonna go with 4 magic nuts.
2 in each side.
2 in each side. Go to a doctor. That's why they're magic. I just don't. I don't know. Like, I can see this is a very good film. I get it.
Do you think
Like,
it might gain an extra point if you watched it with all the dialogue visible in the
Well,
subtitles?
no. Like, I managed to follow. Like, I
yeah,
didn't
but it
miss
shouldn't
that
be
much.
effort. You shouldn't have to decipher a film.
Yes, that happens quite often on this show. We've watched them
No, is
incomprehensible
it? Well,
movies.
yeah, incomprehensible, but at least you can understand what they're saying.
True.
Even if what
I
they're
don't-
saying doesn't make sense, like at least you've got step 1 out of the way of.
I don't think I'd enjoy it more because it was more the pacing
Mm.
that I don't think I
Yeah,
got
and
on with.
I think for me, like, nostalgia probably did quite a lot of the heavy lifting on that, where like I didn't feel this film dragging. Like the
Oh,
bit
yeah,
in the
this
middle, I
film
do sympathise
dragged.
is very girly,
This
and it
film
is very
dragged.
like, oh, okay, so she's basically making a lot of the same mistakes, kind of quite a few times.
Yeah.
Um,
it was the pacing that did it for me. But I understand why it's a good film, and like I
Yeah.
completely get it because I like small scale personal.
And I think her
stakes.
growth counts more because
Yeah.
of the fact that it shows that she doesn't like immediately, her aunt doesn't go, but bad things are happening. She goes, oh, I'm now going to be perfect and only do
Yeah.
things the right way from now on. Like, she still carries on making loads of mistakes right up until the end.
Yeah, like when she
Her
tries
aunt
to
that-
stop Jackie getting hit by the fire extinguisher and instead it hits someone else. Like,
Yeah.
I'm convinced her aunt, every problem you go to her with, she'll be like, you can travel through time.
Yeah, I think you time leapt. It's like, no,
think
I'm
you
trying to
time-leapt.
tell you, I fell off my bike and it hurt. That's all I'm here for. Like,
Her
I just
mum
I just need your first aid kit.
I got hit by a
Her
train.
mum just yelling at her like, stop telling people they can time leap.
Yeah, sister comes to her next week. Is like, yeah, I feel really guilty because I ate my sister's pudding. And she's like, well, have you considered
It sounds like you time
It
lapse.
sounds like you time lapse. She's like, I didn't.
It sounds to me like you leapt through time. Some people can do it. If you try harder, you can also do it again.
To be fair, I would leap through time if I meant multiple puddings.
I'm gonna waste all of my 10 leaps through time on this one.
I would
really
waste
good dinner.
all of my leaps through time being like, well, it's not cream egg season anymore. Guess I'll go back and get one.
I'll eat the same cream egg 10 times.
Oh, fuck, it's 10 past 11. I've missed the McDonald's breakfast. Hang on.
To be fair, I can't think of the negative side effect that would have on anyone else.
No.
So
Yeah, I know that's a big part of this as well. Is like Shaki being like, I'm so glad that you he calls her an idiot. I'm so relieved an idiot found my magic nut. And it's like she's kind of like harsh but fair. For me, I'd say this is a 7 out of 10 film.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. It's like a little hug. I think the music is the music's great. Like the reoccurring piano, where it's like it's quite beautiful piano music, but then every now and then it's quite like choppy, and it pans to like those kids that are in the rehearsal room playing piano. But the way it portrays time travel and the way it's like painted is absolutely spellbinding. So it's nice to look at. And I think being able to watch it without having to like analyze the plot because you're familiar with it, I think it can benefit from that as well.
Yeah.
So 7 exploding lettuces. It's
7
I think it's a good time. I think we have spoiled the plot for anyone who's going to watch it, but that's part of this. It's an inevitable part of this podcast.
Yeah. We can't really do a spoiler-free version of a movie we loved years ago.
Spoiler reasons.
Well, if you've listened to it this far and you want to watch it without spoilers, if you use your time jump, but then realise it doesn't work and erase your memories, so now you've not listened, we've not got our download. But you have listened to the episode.
So that's why our podcast isn't doing so well. All our listeners are time jumping after downloading it.
Yeah. They're signing up to our Patreon, downloading it, listening, and then time jumping to before they paid.
Yeah. I mean, it's economical,
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. Yeah.
We're the people that are getting negatively side affected.
You think it's a victimless crime, but you're wrong.
We're the victims here.
Exactly. We had to watch this.
I feel like I need to appreciate that we did this whole like second half of this podcast. Hella just kept bulldozing past Magic Nut. You were like, I'm not letting us. I'm not going
to let the Magic Nut sidetrack me.
In a goddamn second. I want you to know that was appreciated. It was great.
You did very good at keeping us on track.
Well, somebody
even if that track did hit 2 kids on a bike.
Hey, 3 kids on a bike. 3 kids on the same bike at 2 different times.
That's one talented.
Not to mention pissed off a woman with a big bag of shopping.
Oh, I want the spin-off to be entirely about her.
It's just her point of view. She can remember everything going on. She's like, not again, for fuck's sake.
She's also a time leaper.
Just like, I would have fixed it. They just didn't give me a chance.
She kept trying to fix it, and they kept getting
the kid,
in the way.
Like spotting all over the place. Like, why the fuck? Anyway, done.
Yeah. Well, with that, we're out of Magic Nut talk. So I've been Dan.
I've never done a magic nutting. I'm
Speak for yourself.
Michael.
And I'm Helena.
You can find this podcast on social media at Hilton Pod. That's at HILTM Pod. Give us a follow, and then please don't time jump back so you don't follow us anymore. We're on Discord as well. Feel free to come and tell me and Michael that we're wrong for not liking anime, right. But we'll judge you. It's fine.
We're right.
Yeah.
We're correct in this situation.
And we have a Patreon where you can support the show, so we can use our free trials to watch films. Are we doing anything special for this? Are we making a painting so good that some kid comes back in time to see it?
No, we are going to, because he's
Are we
17,
developing
you don't
time
need
nut
that good of a
technology?
painting.
Yeah, we're gonna figure out the magic nut.
Yeah, no, we're going to develop time travel. We're going to develop how to time travel short distances or long distance. So we're going to develop time travel, which is incredible. And then we're going to put it, for some reason, in a walnut that you have to crack. For some reason, and it's going to be our little magic nuts. And that's how we're going to develop time travel and store it, for some reason, in a walnut.
Excellent.
The only way to get into it is through Barbie and the Nutcracker.
Well, I'm glad you guys humoured me. Just about. I'm gonna go cry now. This guy, went out of his way and walked into the estate and, tracked us down.
Funding down.
I was just like, oh, thank you. Because it looked like it was chocolate, so I didn't want you to miss out. And it's like, oh, that's so sweet. I should have just given it to him.
Like, oh, you can have it.
Your reward is vegan chocolate.
Your reward is the worst kind of chocolate you can get.
That's the only reason he delivered it to you. He was going to keep it himself, and then he saw it was vegan chocolate.
He was like, not worth it.
Like, ooh, chocolate.
Oh,
No.
No. Look, vegan chocolate is getting better. Or I'm forgetting what good chocolate tastes like.
Yeah, I think it's probably the latter, if I'm completely honest with you.
No, you can get I had a fake Mars bar today.
Wow.
And it tastes pretty good.
I'm sure it probably did.
Tasted like a Mars bar.
I'm sure it probably did.
I had a fake Mars bar too. It was the Aldi's own version.
To be fair,
it probably tastes similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did once try. We had a guy, a homeless guy. I was talking to. I just done an interview with him, and he was very skinny, very underweight. We just sort of done his weight and everything, and I was like, I'm really sorry, I've not got any food on me right now. And then I was like, oh wait a minute, rummaged in my bag and found a vegan dupe of a Kinder Bueno. And he wouldn't have it. He was like, I'm not that fucking hungry. Oh, they're really nice. Tastes just like a Kinder Bueno.
That's so funny. No, the